In a magical time, not so long ago, there was a beautiful garden where the little children liked to play. This is the story of Birdwood Place. I hope you'll listen along with me. And if you like, you can close your eyes and make up the pictures in your own mind. The children would go to the garden and they would run and chase each other around the trees, grow vegetables, tend the chickens, climb on the fort, tell stories, listen to the birds sing and the wind whistle in the trees. After the rain, the air was fresh with the smell of dewdrops on the trees. The ladybugs were busy eating the leaves and the bees buzzing all around the flowers. The curlews were cawing and Kookai, the kookaburra, would laugh out loudly, although sometimes everyone wished he could sing a silent song. He was so noisy and always interrupting the peace and harmony in the garden. The garden place was loved by all the children in the garden. They would sing a joyful tune that came from their hearts as their tiny feet tap, tap, tapped a melody along the ground. In nature's garden we roam and play. We come learn here every day. We hunt for things in the sky and on the ground and watch the birds fly all around. The children visited the secret garden every day through a magic gate. They loved to run and play and explore the garden. They found tiny animals who had built their shelters and birds that had built nests. The children were very careful not to disturb the home of the animals. Over time, the garden that was so loved grew wild with neglect, and the children stopped going. The chickens scratched holes in the earth, the trees were strangled with vines, and the garden was overgrown with weeds. People would toss their rubbish over the fence as they walked past. The garden became a wasteland of despair. The little children could no longer visit, and many were sad when they peered at the garden through the gate. The bottle tree asked, "What has happened to the children who used to come and play in my shade? Only the birds come to visit now, and even sometimes they are waylaid." The poinsettia tree, the wise mother of the garden, said, "The children no longer come to play here, as our garden is overgrown with weeds. The chickens have dug holes in the ground, and no one can even walk around without falling down." With that, the bottle tree, majestic as she is, recalled how the bulldozers came and plundered the earth next door where she used to live. The dozers rumbled across the land, silencing nature's song. They knocked the trees down upon the ground, and all the animals hurried and scurried away, and they had to go and find a new house. The ground where she lived was levelled and turned into a concrete jungle of apartments. The bottle tree was saved by being transplanted by a large crane who cut her roots from the ground and lifted her up over the fence and into this garden. She struggled at first and wilted her leaves, but over time she put her roots back down into the earth, and now her bottle trunk was swelling with fresh water from the recent rain. Her branches provided shade for the children to play and to read their books, and the crooks in her branches were great for the birds to build their nests. In the garden, she started to flourish and to dream again. But what would happen if the bulldozers came? The poinsettia tree thought about this for a while and quietly murmured, "I have a solution. I will rustle my leaves and sing a tune, and then all the people that hurry past our gate each day will hear our pleas and come and clean up the garden." The bottle tree agreed in friendly delight that the poinsettia tree, in her nurturing wisdom, would rescue them all from this plight. And so quietly they started to sing. Please come back for part 2 of my story. Part 2 of the Birdwood Place story. So the poinsettia tree gathered everyone around and started to sing her beautiful, quiet song. "Everybody gather around. In this magic garden we found nature's delights of plants, bees and trees. Let's clean it up, wouldn't you please?" She sang this song quietly, as trees often do, And when the little children heard her tune, their hearts were gladdened. Each day she sang, but each day the big people passed by the garden without even noticing. They were hurrying and scurrying with a hustle and a bustle, busy with all their growing-up things. The kookaburra laughed in mockery at the quiet pleading of the tree. She said, "You are not so majestic. You are a fool. No one can hear you. You are so quiet. There is nothing to be done. One day this garden will be gone, and I will fly away, and you will all be firewood." On hearing this, all the trees were very concerned. As their roots were in the ground, they couldn't fly away. The animals gathered around and said to Cook-eye the kookaburra, "You have a voice loud and strong. Instead of getting in our way, why don't you get people's attention to save the garden?" The kookaburra was used to being thought of as a pest. He hadn't thought about his loud voice, that maybe it could be a help. "Oh, yes," he said, "I will laugh loudly and I will call out. Someone will hear me and they will look over the wall and come and fix up this garden." He started laughing his happy tune with a for our garden and a for our garden. Soon the whole street rang with the resounding sounds of all the living creatures who joined in a chorus all around. "Everybody gather around. In this magic garden we've found nature's delights of plants, bees and trees. Let's clean it up, wouldn't you please?" The grown-up people stopped and wondered what all the ruckus was about. The bigger children looked into the garden to see what was causing all the fuss. The garden was so overgrown and tangled that they thought they all must come and repair what is mangled. Everyone came along and cleared the ground, and the little children's hearts were gladdened as soon as they could go back to play, and now they had some big friends to join them. The poinsettia tree was thankful of the noisy kookaburra. She even let him perch on her branches and didn't mind his noisy, rambunctious way. All was restored, and the little children were very, very thankful. They sat in the hut by the poinsettia tree, and they decided to call it the Poinsettia Hut, and all who gathered there were merry and gay. Oh, but it all changed. On the horizon, the future was fraught. Soon, it looked like the visits from the school children would become naught. Their school had not opened, and so they would need to travel far away and find a new school in which to go. Then a solution was to be found. The grown-ups suggested maybe the children could go to school on this very ground. The children could help tend the gardens and care for the chickens. This would become a special place for learning or simply for spending the day. The little children's hearts sang joyfully when they heard that their big friends were once again going to save their garden. As they were wondering what to call the garden, the birds answered by singing their merry tunes. The poinsettia tree took heed and said, "I guard this garden, so the hut is called Poinsettia Hut." But for the name of the garden, in all the turmoil, it was that noisy kookaburra and all the birds who made such a soulful song. All the grown-up people looked over the fence and saw our garden. So now we should name this place after the birds who live amongst the trees. The little children, the bigger ones, and even the grown-up people agreed that the birds' melodies had indeed saved the garden. And so unanimously and forevermore, they named the garden behind the wall Birdwood Place. A master craftsman came and chiseled Birdwood Place on an old tree trunk. If you look closely, you will see he carved the image of a kookaburra on the sign. Kookaburra was heralded the hero of the day. The sign is a friendly reminder that Birdwood Place is our place that sits behind the fence, where we are all one under the sun. It belongs to the trees and the animals who live in the garden. But most importantly, Birdwood Place belongs to the children, both big and small, where our little and big feet come to run, where our helping hands delicately care and create, and where our minds explore and wonder. Together, we made this beautiful song, and we're going to share it with you. And for the last part of our story, we're all going to sing our Birdwood Place song about our beautiful garden. In nature's garden we roam and play. We come learn here every day. We hunt for things in the sky and the ground, and watch the birds fly all around. Never was there such a special place to plain wonder and give chase. The sun shines through the shady trees as the wind whistles with the gentle breeze. This place has joy to be found. Dig, earth, toil the ground. Laugh, roam, gaily sing. Gratitude for all nature brings. Gratitude for all nature brings. Nature's garden we roam and play. We come learn here every day. Never was there such a special space as the garden we call Birdwood Place. Never was there such a special space as the garden we call Birdwood Place. Thank you for sharing in the story of Birdwood Place with me. I hope you enjoyed coming on this journey.